I regret collecting manga, says the woman with a whole bookshelf behind her. Is this clickbait? A little bit. Do I really regret collecting manga as a whole? No, I do not. But I really do regret how I went about things, especially in the beginning of my collecting journey. To start this conversation, I want to go back to 2020. It is lockdown, it's the pandemic. Most of us that were working at the time were now work from home. So we weren't, spending money on gas, on lunches, and other expenses that happen when you have to commute to work. So I ended up accumulating a lot of money. And especially due to the stimulus checks, I found myself with, a good amount of money. And what did I do in 2020 to not feel, so isolated and depressed? I turned to fiction and I turned to media that I liked as a kid. So anime, and then from anime I went to manga, and I found myself like immersed in different worlds that, while I couldn't travel during 2020, I could, travel to different universes and different stories. And I just really fell in love with manga reading and manga collecting. I don't think at the very beginning of my collecting journey I ever imagined that I would amass over 1,000 volumes. Yes, my collection has grown to that amount. I honestly don't even know the exact amount anymore because I haven't really kept track of everything in my collection. So back then, I collected Sailor Moon, like the entire series, as well as Sailor V in just like one haul. I found it at a very good price and I just couldn't resist. The bad thing is that I kept that mentality even for series that I have absolutely no emotional attachment to. So now let's go to 2021 when I started making manga content on TikTok. And if you were around TikTok in 2021, then you probably remember the amount of manga hauls on TikTok. And we're talking huge manga hauls. Right Stuff Anime was still a thing back then. They would have their yearly, big birthday sale, and a bunch of other retailers were just taking advantage of the fact that people were buying a lot of books. We also have the rise of book talk. So there were sales and promotions literally everywhere at any time. We're talking Barnes& and Noble back then was giving out like coupons for specific holidays. You would get like an incentive to order online and pick up in store. Books A Million had a bunch of coupons as well. Like literally every single retailer was taking advantage of the rise of book talk and manga talk, and there were a bunch of promotions. And how did I respond? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to save so much money by taking advantage of these promotions. And with trying to keep up with, all the influencer world and seeing all the other like manga TikTok creators share these huge hauls. And you know what? They did really well. So that's like another thing that, just kind of encouraged me to participate in this overconsumption. I started doing these humongous hauls. I remember too, I ended up like getting, I think the majority of Kimi to Look in one go as well. Kami-sama Kiss was like a scavenger hunt. Like I got a few volumes from Alibris, some from Books A Million, some from Barnes& and Noble until I completed the entire series. I do like Kami-sama Kiss. I don't regret that. But that was my mentality, like, very early on when I started collecting manga. It became kind of like a scavenger hunt, and every single haul gave me so much endorphins, and the people were like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." You know, it was a very community building action, I guess, but in the grand scheme of things, I amassed so many different manga series to the point that it was physically impossible for me to read every single series that I was buying at the time. It also didn't help that back in 2021, there was a manga scarcity issue when things would just go out of stock, not out of print, two separate terms. People were just rushing to the store to buy those volumes in order to not wait, an unknown amount of time time for a reprint. And this happened to series that are even like super popular mainstream series like Jujutsu Kaisen. There was a point in time where you couldn't find volume 0 or volume 1. So then you had people on Mercari and eBay and other platforms selling those volumes for double or triple the price. Nana. Who remembers when Nana would get labeled as out of print on Mercari? I sure do. I remember people trying to sell volume 1 for like $50, and now you can go to any bookstore and buy Nana. We're going to be getting special edition Nana volumes. So yeah, there was absolutely no point in creating this scarcity issue that just didn't exist. There was just so much of that going on back then to the point that it was normalized. And unfortunately, for people that were newer to the manga collecting hobby, he just kind of fell for that scarcity panic almost and would end up going to stores, going to multiple stores in order to find the volumes that were hard to find. But eventually, now they're just like sitting in bookshelves and sitting in secondhand bookstores in masses. And do I regret collecting some of these series? Yeah, I kind of do, actually. I'm sitting on 19 volumes of Jujutsu Kaisen in my collection. Not that I dislike the series, but that is one of the series that got so spoiled for me on TikTok, to the point that I just don't even know if I even want to complete the story for myself because literally every single important point in the storyline got ruined for me. And also the series is just so mainstream that you can easily find it in libraries. And if I truly wanted to read the whole series, I can just pay what, like $3.99 for the Viz Media app and just read it that way. Especially now that like manga prices have gone up. That's another thing. When I first started collecting, it was $9.99. Now a lot of volumes have gone up to $11.99. And it's just, I don't know who needs to tell you this, but collecting manga a lot of the times is not something that's gonna go up in value. Maybe I should start with that. I've gotten to the point that I'm selling off a lot of series that I just panic bought like multiple volumes. And now I'm trying to get rid of them because I want to make space for things that I actually enjoy and want to read and reread. While I'm in the process of reselling these series, I've actually been losing money. The price of manga does not go up. People are not willing to spend more than retail on a series that they can easily buy at a bookstore. Now, out of print series, like truly out of print series that there's absolutely no English publisher printing this series at the moment and it hasn't been licensed by another publisher, like those series, yeah, I mean, depends on which one. Like, some of them have gone up in value. Even something like the classic shoujo manga Mars that used to be able to resell for a pretty good penny, that's going to be reprinted by Kodansha's. Yeah, it's like a lot of the perceived like value of older series, like maybe they'll hold on to that value for like a little bit, but as soon as a publisher decides to do a anniversary edition or something special, that value just goes down. Because I feel like most people would rather buy that newer edition for either retail price or under retail price if you happen to have some sort of membership. I really regret approaching manga collecting as something that, you needed to rush and buy everything. You gotta collect it all. It's not Pokemon. If something eventually goes out of stock, then you just gotta wait. It's a lot of patience, actually. And if I could give another like newer manga collector any advice, here's what I would tell you guys. First of all, you don't need to collect everything. If you're someone that predominantly enjoys like, let's say like shoujo manga, like I do, you don't really need to collect shonen for the sake of balancing your library. Because that was also a thing that happened to me. I obviously love my shoujo and josei manga and lean very heavy towards the romance genre. There was a point in time that people wanted me to be a little bit more balanced. And when I would do like live streams, they would ask like, "Oh, do you have One Piece? Do you have Jujutsu Kaisen? Do you have Chainsaw Man?" Like the comments definitely get to you as a content creator. So I was like, "Huh, let me let me maybe I need to check out some shonen series. I don't know." And I don't regret all of them. Like I really did enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen. I love the anime. Chainsaw Man I actually really enjoyed as well. Mao is another terrific shonen series. But I started adding so many series that I typically wouldn't have purchased if people were like pressuring me to read certain series. We're talking like Mashal, Sakamoto Days, and now I'm just kind of like sitting with these books in my bookshelf, trying to like see if I can actually sell them off. Mashal, I have not been able to sell. I have like 5 volumes, and people are just not very interested in buying it, even though I have 5 volumes listed for. Did I lower the price to 25? Komi Can't Communicate is another series that I did enjoy. I thought the anime was like very cute as well. And I ended up buying up to volume 16. 16. Why? Because one day when I traveled to the Bay Area, I went to a Barnes& Noble location where they had the volumes buy one, get one 50% off. Instead of being reasonable, maybe buying 2 volumes, I was like, wait, they have them in stock. Let me buy everything that they had printed so far. Thankfully, that one I've already sold, but oh my God, like it was just like stupid decision after stupid decision. And I know so well that I was not the only one approaching manga collecting that way. And if you're curious, yes, I definitely did lose money on that sale. But I was so happy to get those 16 volumes off my shelves because the series, I think, has concluded now. But I just did not have the physical space to collect a 20 plus volume series. Like, Komi Can Communicate is no Kimi Toloke, and I'd rather have 30 volumes of Kimi Toloke like I do behind me than a series that is similar to that, but just not as good. Which kind of brings me to my second point, if I could give advice, is try to collect for you. Just you. Just you. Don't worry about what the internet says. Don't worry about, if you're a content creator, what your followers say. If you only want to collect, for example, manga series involving idol life, you do that. If you want to collect just magical girl series, you do that as well. I think narrowing down what you want to collect and what you see like personal value to will go a very long way. Another point, and this is more for other creators that do make videos about manga, I feel like there needs to come a point where you kind of assess what type of content you want to make and realize that it's very, very hard to keep up with every single new release. It doesn't even matter if you narrow it down to a specific demographic or a specific genre. It's just extremely challenging to keep up with every single new release. And we're getting new releases literally every single week. You know, if you can keep up with it financially, like good for you if you're doing it responsibly. But for the rest of the people creating like content about manga, you don't really need to focus on reviewing every single new release. You can if you want to, but don't feel pressured to keep up if you don't have the time, if you don't have the funds, and if you're just not interested in keeping up with every new series. If you like the older like series, the older shoujo, there's still a lot of content that you can come up with by revisiting some of these older series, maybe making video essays, review recommendations on these older series. And honestly, like there's not a whole ton of content on these older series. So maybe you'll find, your niche. Recently, Like, I know, like, speaking for myself, I haven't been able to keep up with the manga releases. I mean, I go to the bookstore, I'm just like, "What are these series?" Like, I haven't even heard of them. And it's just overall kind of overwhelming to keep up with the new releases nowadays. But I just kind of review what I want to read, and if I enjoy it, then I'll let you know what I loved about it. And if I just didn't care about that series, maybe I can just let you know early on that, volume one wasn't my thing, and I kind of don't feel the need to keep reading a series, let alone collect it. But the next piece of advice is I wish I would have utilized the library and other library resources a lot more, like very early on in my collecting journey, because it would have saved me a lot of time and I wouldn't have been left with so much of the FOMO maybe that I was experiencing early on in my collecting journey. I could have still read those stories that I wanted to read because they were so hyped up on TikTok without, actually spending money. When it comes to the manga selection in libraries, I know that's going to vary a lot from library to library. I mean, I've been documenting my library tours here on YouTube as well as on TikTok and Substack. So, like, I know it varies quite a lot. But once you find a library in your county or city that has a really good selection, it has a librarian that really cares about manga. For me, I've discovered so many great series recently because I've been going to libraries more often that maybe I would have overlooked those series. I actually did overlook some of the series that I have reviewed and read at the library at the bookstores. So it's just you get exposed to different stories, different authors, different genres as well. Also, in addition to actually being able to rent out physical books, you also get access to manga series on apps like Libby and Comic Plus, where you can read these series for free if you have a library card. And Comic Plus actually super super good. It has series from Kodansha, Yen Press, Novice. Viz is not there. Fantagraphics is there. I think Udon as well, Udon manga. But just like Kodansha and Yen Press alone, like you have such a big catalog of series that they've published, and they do have quite a lot available. They also do have a lot of like queer manga available too, so it's not just like your popular shonen and shoujo series. I already mentioned, I know this is not free, but the Viz Media manga app is quite affordable and does offer a lot of different series, both shonen and shoujo as well. So that's like another good resource if you don't want to be spending, what is it, like 11.99 per volume. You can just pay 3.99 a month and you can just read as much as you possibly can. If I would have utilized those resources a little bit more early on, my collection would have been a lot smaller, but my wallet definitely would have been a lot happier. Another piece of advice that I would give to a new manga collector too, and I think I kind of like spoke about this earlier, collect at your own pace. And I would encourage you to actually collect as you read the series, which is what I was doing at the the very beginning. When I was, like, collecting Sweat and Soap and Wotakoi, like, maybe it was because I was actually, like, waiting for the next volume to, like, be printed. So once they were printed and they were available at stores, I would go and buy them, but I was actually keeping up with the series, reading each volume, getting excited for the next volume, and it was just a much more reasonable way of buying and collecting manga other than, buying in bulk. Don't buy in bulk. If you read the series, like, in your childhood and you love it, and now you have the adult money to collect the entire series, go for it. But do not buy in bulk if you haven't read the series and you just heard that it's good, but there's a possibility that you might not even enjoy it. I feel like that's the reason why when you go to a secondhand bookstore like a book off, you're seeing a ridiculous amount of certain series. I see so much Jujutsu Kaisen, so much Chainsaw Man, so much Rent a Girlfriend, My Hero, Komi Can't Communicate. I'm trying to like think of all these series that are super mega popular people bought in like droves and now they're just kind of like I'm assuming it's like buyer's remorse like I've been experiencing. Fly Me to the Moon's another one that I see a lot. You might think that you're saving money at first, like buying these series with a discount. Let me tell you, you did not save money. You ended up losing money. Maybe the fifth point. This is truly the last one. Just be responsible. Learn how to budget. Truly. I feel like maybe I should have said that from the beginning. Learn how to budget. If you can only afford to buy maybe 5 books a month, that's over $50 nowadays, then that's fine. That's completely fine. I don't feel like you should feel ashamed for that. It doesn't make you any less of a manga fan or any less of a fan of a particular series. And don't let the internet shame you. I feel like the attitude towards manga collecting nowadays, it's definitely has shifted quite a lot. And I've noticed this as well, like the manga hauls and manga shopping videos don't do as well now as they did back in 2021, 2022. And that's kind of a good thing, honestly. I feel as a creator in this space, I do feel less pressure in going out to bookstores and documenting, what I buy and everything. I just don't feel that rush anymore. And I feel like even audiences are kind of tired of overconsumption, generally speaking. And yeah, I've noticed that in even the manga space that these like humongous haul videos on TikTok and YouTube just aren't performing as well now as they were back then. And I've been trying to do this more as I like visit other libraries. Instead of, buying a bunch of books, just show what you found at your local library and do a library haul. Like you can still get that little rush of like, oh my God, like I found all these cool series that I want to read and hopefully share with you guys without getting like buyer's remorse. And ultimately, that's where I want the conversation to go because, yes, I feel like a lot of times when you look through social media, you see all these IKEA Billy bookshelves just filled to the brim with manga, and it looks visually beautiful. Even just looking at my shelves, I'm like, oh man, like this looks so nice. But have I read half of the books in my bookshelf? I have not. I have not. I collected so much quicker than I was able to actually read. And I regret that so much. I have so many volume ones in my collection that I still need to read and figure out if there's something that I want to collect or want to get rid of. And honestly, seeing the amount of unread series makes me anxious. I'm not gonna lie. And I just, it's not how I wanted to do things. But personally, I did reach a moment as a content creator in this space where you just kind of get lost. Ultimately, these books take up space. It also takes a lot of time to actually read through these series. So definitely be responsible, collect at your own pace, collect what you love and find value in like rereading or gives you joy. Don't collect for the sake of collecting. If they do, go out of stock, they will eventually come back in stock. Don't pay more than you have to on manga, especially on series that are just extremely popular. It's not worth it. If you are feeling kind of like I am, let me know in the comments. I feel a little less lonely. I feel like a lot of people are like, maybe I don't want to admit this. Maybe we should normalize this. Sometimes in life, you make very stupid financial decisions. I did it once with makeup and now with manga. And yeah, I just want to like chill a little bit, read what I have, discover other series at the library, and, keep enjoying manga, but more responsibly. When you're a collector, the worst possible thing you can do is end up in debt collecting something and then getting sick of it. I'm not sick of manga collecting. I don't fully regret collecting manga. I do regret how I went about things, especially early on. That's the end of the video. I'll see you in my next video. Hopefully it's not a manga haul. I don't think so. I feel like maybe next time it'll be San Diego Comic-Con stuff. I'm going to try my best not to buy any manga at San Diego Comic-Con. Usually I do pretty good at not buying too much. But yeah, I'm on the no buy because I'm going to Japan next month in August. So, so there's that. Bye bye.